In the name of Almighty God, I am Master Sankoshi, and today I want to talk about On Anti-Gravity, which was written by the author Lucian Inesue in January 11, 2023. This is an informal overview in support of anti-gravity as a real observable and reproducible phenomena that now we begin to understand. This corresponds to the high energy level of interaction of two nucleus nuclear spin dependent in addition to the state that yields Newtonian gravity, which is an average over spin direction achieving a lower energy level, attractive at equilibrium, and much weaker effective force hierarchy problem. The standard model-based theory of gravity is recalled some to the lab experiments methods to control gravitational interaction or review microwave dynamical nuclear orientation polarization based also found Hutchino's and rotation based, which requires superconductivity. Paul Keltonov and his colleagues to take advantage of the properties of the Bose in Einstein condensate. Other observations and methods supporting the theory and experiments are called a program to help implement the technology within the new paradigm in physics is proposed open source research and implementations. Now I want to go to the introduction. Antigravity is not a hypothetical phenomenon since it was observed in nature experimentally and predicted by the theory of gravity of quark field origin or TGQFO based on further considerations regarding the SM of elementary particle physics. Gravitational interaction is nuclear spin dependent, and the two extreme cases correspond to attraction and repulsion because fractional charges of nucleus are three, not two, as for dipoles or magnets. We refer to references 936 and etc. Also 43 for the development of the theory, its experimental basis and confirmations through observations of alternative technologies for flights or UFOs. In this article, we reviewed the two directions of achieving gravity control and anti-gravity microwaves based DNO based on the Gerebnikov and rotation-based gravity field with a serial generator or at conditions of superconductivity. Eugen Pokhdalov and his colleagues were based on Einstein condensates facilitate the DMP process. The essence of this phenomenon relies on changing the almost random distribution of nucleus spin using DNO based on the microwaves, EPR, and spin orbit coupling or rotation. See Einstein. This state regime found in nature yields the weakness of Newtonian gravity and explains the hierarchical problems based on the references 42 and 7. Other reports of anti-gravity effects are included as clues without discarding them ab initio. Applications to a clean method of transportation and to cold fusion are recalled. I want to go through the another sections, recall on the standard model, recall analysis and the origin of the theory of the four interactions, explain why they are still considered independent. The three separate gauge groups are part of the Hopf vibration qubit space quark states space, which is a three symmetric group of a three-dimensional frame of quark states belonging to SU. This allows to view a baryon as a source of one field, the quark field with three main directions in and out corresponding to the fractional charge of quark. This unification has several consequences, including gravity together with AM or electromagnetic as part of the electroweak theory. On the other hand, the effective potential of the nuclear force exhibits these terms to in reference 3, a qualitative justification of how gravity emerges from the quark structure of nucleus is contained in several previous articles and presentations based on the reference 43. Note that the F Also, Fon adopted a similar point of view that gravity gr is not a justification of gravity yet a model, and gravity is a result of an atomic process universal for all elementary constituents of matter. Note also the similarity in title and general direction of research with reference 7. In conclusion, SMRE contains gravity as a correction of electric force due to the quark field and needs the conceptual rethinking of what quarks are. The weak force should take into account the Platonic Weyl groups, geometry of baryons, and color QCD needs unified with the weak force formalisms to include quark flavors. Another main point is that nuclear force is spine dependent, which includes gravity as the long range component. The short range component is described in terms of mesons, quark flavors, and color QCD gluons. Now I want to go through the another sections, experiments on gravity control. At the experimental level, the DNO quark spine directions of nucleons was proven to change the gravitation properties of a body in Earth's G field. DNO using microwave. Also Ford's experiment. This was discussed in more details in previous articles. We will focus on the rotation-based effects observed in other experiments. L1 Grease's HP. Now I want to go through the Hutchison effect, the use of the radio and microwave radiation to change the structure of various materials resulted in anti-gravity effects and changes in the chemical nuclear structure of the material subjected. These experiments are not documented, but the effects are consistent with the idea that spine dependence of nuclear force is also responsible for gravity. The facts reported are based on the reference 18. John Hutchison is well known for his research on the Hutchison effect, which will be briefly mentioned here. The Hutchison effect includes a levitation of heavy objects, including a 60-pound cannonball, fusion of dissimilar metals such as metal and wood, anomalous heating of metal without burning of adjacent material, spontaneous fracturing of metal, and changes in the crystalline structure and physical properties of metals. The combination of using microwaves and Tesla coils seems to have deeper impact in the change of the structure of materials, most likely spin orientation dependent e.g. and nuclear see reference 3. These effects are obtained experimenting without preliminary recording of the setup and documentation, so are difficult to reproduce. Now I want to go through another sections, 3.2 rotation-based effects, 2.2.1 Bodoni-Sarkodie experiments. These were mentioned already in reference 7. The rotation of a body may produce magnetization and possibly further effects due to nuclear spin. We tend to ignore that we are in a massive gravitational field due to the sun. Now I want to go through another subsection 0.2.2 Ning-Ley experiments. The remarkable experiments of Ning-Ley were interpreted in terms of theory of gravity and gravity control. In reference 7, her explanations are consistent with the nuclear spin with origin of gravity, which just determines the three-dimensional orientation of the quark directions, fractional electric and color change charts. Her explanations are going in this direction, falling short of monitoring or mentioning the spine and quark structures of nucleons. For historical account of her work, see reference 14. Note that her first experiment apparently didn't involve rotation of the disk, and she planned experiments including rotation, part of the U.S. DOD grants. Superconductivity allows for an efficient alignment of nuclear spin based on the boson-Einstein condensate. This probability allows for an amplification effect reminiscent of lasers. Now I want to go through another subsection 2.2.3 Paul Keltonov experiment similar for superconductive disks rotation generated a field with similar properties with the G field weight was reduced, hence consistent with the nuclear spin origin of gravity underlying quark field sources and sinks. Now I want to go through another section 3.2.4 Henry Wallace gyro experiments. His advices consist of rapidly spinning disk of brass, a material made up largely of elements with a total half-integer nuclear spin. He claimed that by rapidly rotating a disk of such material, the nuclear spin became aligned and as a result created a gravito-magnetic field in a fusion and fashion similar to the magnetic field created by the Barrett effect. See also the reference 17, the idea that alignment of nuclear spin causes gravity is hence not so new after all. A resulting weight reduction was also reported. Now I want to go through the another subsection is 3.2.5 CL effect generator and flying disk. See reference 21, the stage or shear effect generator was filmed to demonstrate anti-gravity effects, the rotation of the disk and magnets rollers with special material properties is in principle capable of involving a feedback loop in the DNO of nuclear spin, which was demonstrated to affect the G properties of the object, reversing attraction to the Earth into repulsion. See Podcalentrov and his colleagues used direct microwave stimulation of inversion of population of spin statistics, how the vector potential, magnetic field, and rotation of rollers create the feedback loop is not clear at this time. Better understanding of Faraday disks should be helpful. There are database and debates about these two. There is also high electric field voltage delta R or derivative R based on the time term due to the vortex-like field R. See Hope fibration and Rodin coil as observed directly to the reported ionization effects. The factual anti-gravity effect is well documented via film and reports. Same with the Sage, allowing Cyril to disconnect his energy supplier, leading to dire consequences for the inventor. His story is clearly far from a hoax. There are similarities with the case of the Tesla regarding how Cyril got insight into the design of the Sage, but more importantly, now we know such an effect is predicted by the theory and experiments of others. The investments should be based on the more modern experiments that worked, combining the different technologies available for DNA of nuclear spines with microwaves, rotations, superconductivity, and rollers design. Further info is available. Reading John Searle's story from this book will convince the reader that this is a real life story at the level of facts. One should not have high expectations regarding the explanations. Nevertheless, the law of squares has some interesting congruence arithmetic behind it. Think a Hamiltonian spiral on a torus z divided by p multiplied by z divided by q. This is related to toroidal source of spinning outflows pulsar type, for example, spiraling in and out rather than confined in a toroidal coil. See also Rodin coil compared with the Hopf vibration as a model for the basic block of matter, neutron. Some insight can be gained regarding the resonance phenomena of a fluent coil by the educated reader from reference 34. These are, of course, only hints to clues to be related to understand the feedback mechanism instead that generates internal energy via magnets that are rotated between disks. Now I want to go to another subsections 3.2.6 over unity and isotope isomers. Inversion of spin direction to achieve antigravity requires energy. Perhaps mechanical is enough. Switching the attraction from Earth to ambient G field, essentially solar, may act as a switch to a different source of energy, accounting for lift off. Yet the reported or unity energy produced is not, in others' opinion, from zero-point energy of the vacuum, but rather could be a result of the reorientation of spin direction affecting the nuclear force potential, a sort of rearrangement of nuclear interactions, which is also responsible for isomers of isotopes. This is principle can be computed and tested. The main point is our unity is an extraction process we don't fully understand, which is associated with gravity and nuclear force quark field. Chapter 3.3 Other experiments. We report on a few other similar experiments mentioned in reference 21 attempting to reproduce the effects of the SEG. The reference 3.3.1 Rochin and Godin from the reference 29 retain a few aspects gravity effects obtained by rotating magnets, a weight reduction to 35% circular magnets, magnetic valves, orbital-like clear resonance effects, and standing waves recall Bohr model self-generation of electric power, corona discharge, ionization, and ozone smell visible wave patterns, fall of the temperature around the device till magnetic valves felt cold by hand conductivity their conductivity, human shield ball, and etc. A similar effect, sensation, it is related to the electromagnetic vector potential. The experiments didn't have a scientific explanation at that time, especially for the gravitational effects. Now we know that these are a result of DNO of nuclear spin based on the reference 943, 13, and 14 rotation build a strong magnetic field with an associated circular flow. An orbital log structure may have been created similar to a sheep ball, clearly created by the Beer hands. Biofields, A-flow, electronic orbitals have also ether-like characteristics. Now I want to go through another subsection 3.3.2 Paul Murad. See reference 21. We ran all of these tests in series, working carefully on each series for about a month, and overall we were able to repeatedly generate a net reduction in weight of 2 to 5 pounds. For further details, see the reference 30. A common mistake when trying to explain such phenomena is to consider Maxwell's equations as simplified by Heaviside without considering the vector potential as a central concept as Maxwell did this in the reference 21. Second, even more widespread misconception is that using Einstein's gravitational theory one can interpret these, or general relativity theory, one can interpret these fields as a result of curving space-time that would require many orders of magnitude higher energies. Recall that even the sun's G field or gravity field can barely carry a light ray, as explained in detail based on this current SM and theory of nuclear force. The explanation is much simpler and natural. The three quarks in a nuclear form in a bond field called the quark field, which is three electric fractional charge aspects relevant when probed electrically in electron scattering experiments, providing an electric field interaction orientation dependent. The correction term to the Coulomb model for the electric force is stronger from gravity. The weakness of gravity C hierarchy problem is due to averaging over an almost random distribution of spin directions at low temperatures due to the properties of the Bose-Einstein condensate and increase in the relaxation time of electron process precision. The orientation aligns in the ambient magnetic field. reserving the gravity interaction from the attraction lowest energy states to repulsion. There is a need for an excitation mechanism besides rotation itself and the interaction which the magnetic field which is present in Alciphon's experiments microwave DNO, yet lacking in Ning Li experiments, even rotation absent in our first set of experiments. So the footnote is actually this is a common way to explain, and the next footnote is the magnetic field when the B is equal to care A is the analog of angular momentum of a rotation body that can be a fluid with zero magnetic field. Now that Fluxion are units of rotation and fluids, the correct concepts of magnetic charge, it is interesting to compare this with the intuition of Lev Skolinin about magnetism. The next footnote is that the same scientists that decouple quaternions into vector calculus with separate cross and dot products. Then I want to go through another subsections 3.4 DNO using sound and other methods. There are other reports of anti-gravity effects obtained using sound. It is conceivably based on the piezoelectric effect phonostory. For example, Tabati and Monk's levitation report by Dr. Jar and Carol Castell, built by Edward Lidis and etc. Other methods to achieve current states associated to levitation are mentioned in reference 25, including meditation and even simply getting into the zone. See accounts of basketball players, jump, measurement measurement accounts of runners and etc. These point towards a different direction, the potential of a human body and mind. Now I want to go through the another subsections, which is 3.5 credibility gap. This can be bridged via educational learning from the scientific reports, theory, experiment, and technology, and reassessing the incredible reports as if building the case of anti-gravity to provide a feedback loop motivation. Anti-gravity metamaterials, similarly with electromagnetic, where we have electromagnets and permanent magnets, the latter including forms rocks with such properties found in nature, we point to existence of materials with special gravitation properties, natural and man-made. Galvanical platform in chapter 4.1 for a multitude of accounts of this story. See the reference 39. The structural gravity effects was reported in many instances and it is related to electromagnetic effect, but the properties of the wings of the insects used to build the platform suggest to consider that the possibility that they are ground in such a way to involve a preferred spinal retention of the nucleus. DNO, how to test this using the nuclear magnetic resonance perhaps. And the sections 4.2 is coverage real, whereas fiction could be just science fictions, precursor of science fact. Metamaterials processing such properties could be in principle made as using spine glass structures and quantum locking of spine conditions of superconductivity and magnetic field DNO rotation based or microwave based. If we think how steel is made, this may be the opposite temperature regime. Also think of hysteresis of magnetic stable materials. The need for understanding solid-state physics, with input from nuclear physics, is obvious at this point. The combination of macrostructures and quantum properties of material may be the solution to manufacture such materials or cover it, for example, carbon nanotube and etc. Applications: gravity, surf, board, picture science fiction, silver surfer. The footnote Fifth footnotes say that was rotation present in the experiment replicating Ning-like experiments, if any. And the sixth footnote says the fact that a story exists raises the question regarding what to extract and what not from the info provided for further use. Science of source rules many of these as inadmissible in the court of science laws. Now I want to go through the another chapter, further development and proposed experiments. The subsections 5.1, the double disk setup, the rotation of disk under the superconductivity condition subjected to a system of microwave generator, for example, three spherical Tesla antennas like those used by Konstantin Meyer for scale waves, should yield an improved experimental setup to demonstrate gravity control and weight reduction. Note that between such two or several spherical Tesla antennas, a standing wave is created capable of supplying energy at a distance. As first envisioned by Tesla himself, this is an arrangement of the excitation sources similar with the one used for achieving the recent breakthrough in laser fusion, targeting the strong force component of the nuclear force, except using microwaves. A coherence of phase for the three sources could be achieved via a beam splitter analog technique or electronically. Enclosing the system in a resonant cavity, for example, made of two aluminum discs bowed like a UFO, should increase the efficiency. Compare this setup with that picture in reference 20. The use of a design similar with the shear set, including rollers, should be also attempted in order to advance the work on gravity control. An open source R&D research and development approach is needed together with an education campaign of the various approach pros and cons. So thank you so much for watching my tutorial video until the end. If there is any literature and simulation for this article, you can find it from github.com/mahsa script or github.com/kashi script or github.com/safra script.